Hello, my friend. Welcome to Inner Calm Dreaming, where we listen, we relax, and we fall asleep. I'm your narrator, Brian. I'm so glad to have you here with me. Tonight, we'll share a sleepy retelling of a fairy tale. One bright morning, a curious jackdaw found himself soaring over the grand garden of the king's palace. The garden was a spectacle of beauty-lush greenery, vibrant flowers, and elegant fountains sparkling in the sunlight. Yet, none of these wonders held the jackdaw's attention for long. His gaze fell upon a magnificent flock of royal peacocks gathered near a fountain. Their feathers shimmered in every hue imaginable, brilliant blues, shimmering greens, and radiant golds that seemed to capture and reflect the light itself. The jackdaw, perched on a nearby tree, watched them in awe. He couldn't help but admire how effortlessly they commanded attention, their beauty drawing admiration even from the humans passing by. The peacocks moved with grace and pride, as if fully aware of their magnificence. In contrast, the jackdaw felt plain and insignificant. His own feathers were a dull, unremarkable black, and his manner was clumsy. Envy began to take root in his heart. As the jackdaw continued to watch, a bold thought crept into his mind. Why shouldn't I be one of them? He wondered. I may not be born with their beauty, but surely I can create it for myself. His imagination ran wild with visions of joining the peacocks, strutting among them, and being admired just as they were. He became convinced that all he needed was the right appearance. If he could look like a peacock, surely they would accept him as one of their own. For days, the jackdaw kept a close eye on the peacocks, hoping for an opportunity. One morning, his patience paid off. While the peacocks preened and groomed themselves, a few of their splendid feathers fell to the ground. The jackdaw waited until the peacocks moved away, then swooped down eagerly to collect the cast-off feathers. He held them tightly in his beak, feeling as though he had discovered a treasure. Back in his usual haunts, the jackdaw began his transformation. He carefully stuck the brilliant peacock feathers among his own black plumes, arranging them as best he could to mimic the peacock's majestic tails. When he was finished, he stood back to admire his reflection in a pool of water. To his eyes, the change was astounding. The bright colors of the borrowed feathers transformed his appearance, and he felt a surge of confidence. Now I look just like them, he thought. Now I am worthy. Dressed in his new finery, the jackdaw returned to his flock. But instead of staying among his own kind, he strutted about with an air of superiority, lifting his head high and flaunting his tail. The other jackdaws watched in bewilderment and growing irritation as he preened and acted as though he were no longer one of them. Just wait, he thought smugly. Soon I'll be among the peacocks. Gathering his courage, the jackdaw flew to the king's garden and landed among the peacocks. At first, the peacocks seemed intrigued by the strange newcomer. They eyed him curiously as he tried to mimic their elegant movements. But the jackdaw's clumsy attempts at grace quickly betrayed him. His stiff, awkward mannerisms were nothing like the fluid poise of the peacocks. As they drew closer, they noticed the poorly attached feathers and the black plumes peeking through. The peacocks grew suspicious, and their curiosity turned to outrage. An impostor, they cried. They flapped their wings and squawked angrily, surrounding the jackdaw. One by one, they tore out the borrowed feathers, their sharp beaks pulling and tugging until the jackdaw's disguise lay in tatters on the ground. In their fury, they even plucked some of his own feathers, leaving him disheveled and humiliated. Beaten and ashamed, the jackdaw fled the garden. His heart was heavy as he returned to his own flock, hoping for comfort among his old companions. But his reception was far from warm. The other jackdaws remembered his arrogance when he paraded around in his borrowed finery, looking down on them as though he were better. They saw his return as an opportunity to teach him a lesson. With harsh cries and sharp pecks, they drove him away, mocking him for his pretentiousness. "You thought you were better than us," they jeered. "Now look at you, neither a peacock nor one of us." Alone and defeated, the jackdaw had no choice but to retreat to the outskirts, nursing his wounds. As the days passed, the jackdaw reflected on his actions. He realized that in trying to be something he was not, he had lost the respect of both the peacocks and his own kind. Pretending to be what he could never truly be had cost him dearly. It was a harsh lesson, but one he would never forget. Outward appearances mean nothing if they are not backed by truth, and contentment comes from embracing one's own identity.